Welcome to Unit 4. In this first lesson, we are talking about the second conditional, and this is used for impossible or unlikely situations in the present or future. Let's see a couple of examples. If I won the lottery, I would buy a Ferrari. I would change my country if I were the president. Let's look at the positive form. There are two ways to create the second conditional. You can either start the sentence off with the word if, or you can have it in the middle of the sentence. If you want to start off the sentence with if, you have to have if followed by a subject plus past simple, followed by a comma. Afterwards, you would say subject plus would, could, might, or may plus verb. The other way around is starting off with the subject followed by would, could, might, or may plus verb. Then if is in the middle of the sentence followed by subject and past simple. Pay attention that if the first part of the sentence is the if clause, then we have to put a comma after it. Instead, if the first part of the sentence is the would clause, then we don't need the comma. Some examples. If we had more time, we could study more. We would study more if we had more time. If you studied more often, you might pass your exams. You may pass your exams if you studied more often. Now let's look at a negative sentence. We make negative sentences as any other form. For example, if we had more time, we wouldn't study more. We wouldn't study more if we had more time. If you didn't study so often, you could fail your exams. You could fail your exams if you didn't study so often. To make a question, we have to start with the would clause at the beginning. Would I study more if I had more time? Could you pass the exams if you studied more often? Note, you can put the if clause at the beginning, but then the question will only use the would clause. If I had more time, would I study more? If you studied more often, could you pass the exams? We can also make the question in negative. Wouldn't I study more if I had more time? Couldn't you pass your exams if you studied more often? Pay attention. In the second conditional, we have to change the usual form of the verb to be. Check the second sentence at the beginning of the lesson. I would change my country if I were the president. Now, usually for I, he, she, and it, we use was for the past simple. But in the second conditional, when the sentence means that something is impossible or improbable, which is almost always, we change was for were. If I were a man, I would respect women. If she were invisible, she would be able to go everywhere without being seen. Don't confuse the second conditional with a normal past if clause. If I was rude, please forgive me. If she was great on the exam, it was because she studied a lot. In this case, we have to use the normal form of the verb.